Tom lived in a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. Every house was clean, the gardens were neat, and the streets were always free of trash. The Homeowners Association, known as the HOA, made sure everyone followed the rules. Most neighbors were friendly and respectful, but the HOA rules were strict, and some residents complained whenever they felt a rule was broken. One sunny morning, Tom's wife, Mia, opened the mailbox. She pulled out the letters carefully and noticed one from the HOA. She frowned and called Tom into the living room. "Tom, look at this," she said, holding the letter in her hands. Tom took it and read aloud. "This is a fine for your garden. Apparently, our bushes are too tall, and the lawn is slightly uneven." He raised his eyebrows. "Is this serious? The bushes don't even block anything. The lawn looks fine to me." Mia nodded. "I know. I don't think this is fair. We always keep the garden clean, and this is very small." She felt frustrated because they had always tried to follow the HOA rules. Tom rubbed his chin. He knew that HOA rules were sometimes strict, but he had never expected them to fine someone for something so minor. "We can call them or visit their office," he said. "We should explain our side before paying anything." Mia agreed. She picked up the phone and dialed the HOA office, but nobody answered. She left a polite message explaining that they wanted to discuss the fine. Tom suggested they wait a day or two before taking any further action. Meanwhile, Mrs. Pearson, the HOA president, was already upset. She had noticed that the fine had not been paid immediately. She was known in the neighborhood for being very serious about rules. Some neighbors even called her Karen quietly because she often acted quickly to enforce rules without discussion. Mrs. Pearson decided to take action. She did not like being ignored, and she thought this couple was deliberately refusing to follow HOA rules. She considered calling the police to make the situation more official. That evening, Mia prepared dinner while Tom watered the garden. The sun was setting, and the sky turned orange and pink. They were trying to forget about the fine and enjoy the calm of their home. Mia laughed as she chopped vegetables. "I hope they understand soon. I don't want this to become a bigger problem." Tom smiled at her. "Don't worry. We will handle it. We are polite and fair, and that matters. If they are reasonable, this will be over in a day." The next morning, there was a knock at the door. Tom opened it and saw a police officer standing there in uniform. The officer's expression was serious but polite. Tom's heart skipped a beat. "Good morning, officer," Tom said, trying to stay calm. Mia stood beside him, her hands folded. The officer held a small notebook in his hands. "We received a complaint from your HOA about a fine you have not paid," he said. His voice was firm but respectful. Mia explained politely. "We didn't refuse to pay. We just wanted to discuss the fine. We called the HOA office, but no one answered. We want to understand before paying." The officer nodded and took notes. He looked at the garden and inspected the bushes carefully. Tom felt a little nervous but reminded himself to stay calm. After a few minutes, the officer paused. He looked up at Tom and Mia with wide eyes. "Wait, you are Judge Randall?" he asked quietly. Tom blinked in surprise. "Yes, that is me," Tom replied calmly. The officer's face turned pale, and he looked down at his notebook. He realized he had been called to handle a minor HOA complaint at the home of a local judge. Suddenly, the situation felt awkward. Mia noticed the tension in the officer's face. She smiled gently. "It's okay. We respect your work. But this is just a simple HOA disagreement, not a crime," she said. The officer nodded slowly. "I understand. I will take a report, but it seems there is no criminal issue here," he said. Tom and Mia both relaxed slightly. The officer stayed for a few more minutes, asking a few questions about the garden and the fine. He listened carefully as Tom explained that they always followed HOA rules but believed this particular fine was unfair. Mia added that they were willing to work with the HOA, but they wanted fairness and communication. After finishing his notes, the officer said, "I will report back to the HOA. Hopefully, this will resolve the matter without further problems." He smiled politely, turned, and walked to his car. Tom closed the door and leaned against it. Mia laughed softly, relieved that the officer had handled the situation calmly. "That was strange," she said. "I didn't expect him to know you." Tom chuckled. "Life is full of surprises. Let's hope the HOA will be reasonable now." The couple went inside, still a little shaken but determined to stay calm. They knew that patience and polite communication were the best way to handle the situation. The next morning, Tom and Mia were having breakfast when the phone rang. Mia picked it up and saw it was Mrs. Pearson, the HOA president. Her smile faded as she answered. "Good morning, Mrs. Pearson," Mia said politely. "How can we help you?" Mrs. Pearson's voice was sharp and serious. "I understand you have not paid the fine for your garden. I want this resolved immediately. If you do not comply, I will involve the authorities." Mia remained calm. "We are not refusing to pay, Mrs. Pearson. We just wanted to discuss the fine and understand why it was issued. We have always tried to follow the rules." Mrs. Pearson frowned. "Discussion takes too long. The rules are clear, and everyone must follow them. I will call the police if necessary." Mia looked at Tom. She could see his jaw tightening, but she stayed composed. "We understand, but involving the police seems unnecessary. This is a minor issue that can be resolved by talking. We are willing to meet with the HOA board and discuss it." Mrs. Pearson's voice rose slightly. "I will not wait for meetings. I will report this as refusal to comply. Someone will come to your house shortly." She hung up before Mia could respond. Tom shook his head. "She is very serious about this. I did not expect this level of action for something so small." Mia nodded. "We just need to stay calm. There is no crime here. We only need to explain our side." Less than an hour later, there was a knock at the door. Tom opened it carefully and saw a uniformed police officer standing there. He held a notepad and looked professional. "Good morning, officer," Tom said politely. Mia stood behind him, calm but attentive. The officer nodded. "Good morning. I received a complaint from your HOA regarding a fine that has not been paid. I am here to take a report and make sure everything is in order." Mia explained politely, "We want to resolve this matter, officer. We did not refuse to pay. We only want to discuss the fine because we believe it may be unfair. We contacted the HOA office, but no one answered." The officer listened carefully. He walked around the garden, examining the bushes and the lawn. He took notes, looking thoughtful. Tom and Mia watched him silently, hoping he would understand their side. After a few minutes, the officer paused. His eyes widened as he looked at Tom. "Wait, you are Judge Randall?" he asked quietly. Tom raised an eyebrow. "Yes, that is correct," Tom said calmly. The officer's face turned pale. He looked down at his notepad and seemed unsure of what to say next. I did not know," the officer said. His voice was low, almost nervous. He realized he had been called to handle a complaint at the home of a local judge. The situation suddenly felt delicate and unusual. Mia noticed the tension and smiled politely. "It is all right, officer. We respect your job, but this is just a minor HOA dispute. There is no crime involved." The officer nodded, taking a deep breath. "I understand. I will take a report and inform the HOA that no legal action is necessary. This appears to be a civil matter between you and the HOA." Tom explained the situation carefully. He told the officer that they had always followed HOA rules and maintained their property properly. He also said that they wanted to pay fines when they were fair but wanted to ensure that any rules were applied correctly. Mia added that they had tried to contact the HOA office and had been patient. "We are willing to meet with the board and explain, but the police do not need to be involved," she said. The officer nodded again. "I will communicate this to the HOA. It is clear that you are cooperative and respectful. They may need to adjust their approach." After finishing his notes, the officer stood up and looked at them. "Thank you for your patience. I hope this matter is resolved quickly without further trouble. Please remain calm and continue your polite communication with the HOA." Tom and Mia thanked him. The officer left, walking to his car and driving away. The couple closed the door and leaned against it, feeling relieved that the officer had handled the situation calmly and respectfully. Mia laughed softly. "That was unexpected. I did not think involving the police would be so awkward." Tom smiled. "It is certainly unusual, but it worked out. The officer understands our side, and the HOA will be informed. Now we can focus on resolving the matter properly." For the rest of the morning, Tom and Mia discussed how they would approach the HOA board. They planned to remain calm, polite, and clear in explaining their situation. They knew that patience, respect, and communication were the best tools for handling misunderstandings like this. By the afternoon, they had gathered some photos of their garden and notes about past interactions with the HOA. They wanted to be fully prepared for any discussion. Tom and Mia felt confident that if they stayed calm and professional, the matter would be resolved fairly. The couple also realized that the situation, although stressful, had reminded them of the importance of staying composed under pressure. They hoped Mrs. Pearson would reconsider her approach and that the fine would be resolved without more conflict. The next morning, Tom and Mia were enjoying a quiet breakfast. Sunlight filled the kitchen, and the warm smell of fresh toast made the room feel calm. Despite the previous day's incident, they tried to start the day positively. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Tom opened it cautiously. Standing there was the same police officer from the previous day. His expression was more serious than before. He held his notebook in his hands, and his eyes seemed to search for words carefully. "Good morning, officer," Tom said politely. Mia stood beside him, maintaining her calm posture. The officer took a deep breath. "I wanted to follow up on the complaint from your HOA," he said. "I reviewed the report, and I spoke with my supervisor. Everything appears to be in order, but I wanted to ask a few more questions directly." Mia nodded. "Of course. We want to resolve this fairly. Please ask whatever you need." As the officer began asking questions about their garden, the fine, and their previous attempts to contact the HOA, he suddenly stopped. His eyes widened, and he looked at Tom as if he could not believe what he saw. "Wait, you are Judge Randall?" he asked in a low voice. Tom looked at him calmly. "Yes, that is correct. I am Judge Randall. Why do you seem surprised?" The officer's face turned pale. He looked down at his notebook, shuffled the pages, and then glanced back at Tom. I did not realize. I have appeared in your courtroom several times, but I never expected to meet you here in this situation." Mia noticed the tension and gave a reassuring smile. "It is all right. We understand this is unusual. But please remember, this is just a small HOA matter. There is no crime involved. We want to settle it respectfully." The officer nodded slowly. "Yes, of course. I understand now. I just did not expect this. You have always been fair and respected in court, and I was not prepared to find you here as the person involved in a police matter." Tom chuckled lightly. Life is full of surprises. Even judges can have minor disputes at home. We handle them quietly and fairly, just as we expect others to do. The officer smiled faintly but still looked nervous. He wrote some notes carefully, making sure to record the situation correctly. I will report back to the HOA and explain that this matter does not require police action. You have been cooperative and polite, and it seems there is no violation that warrants further involvement. Mia added, we hope this will help the HOA understand that patience and communication are better than rushing to involve the police. Rules should guide fairness, not fear. The officer nodded. I agree. I will make sure to explain that to Mrs. Pearson. She may not realize how her actions could escalate minor matters unnecessarily. Tom invited the officer to step inside for a moment. Would you like some water or coffee? I know these situations can be stressful. The officer shook his head politely. No, thank you. I appreciate the offer. I just wanted to clarify everything and ensure that your cooperation is documented properly. This will help avoid any future misunderstandings. While the officer spoke, Mia noticed a small notebook on his belt. It looked official and well used. She realized that this man had likely handled hundreds of cases, yet he was clearly cautious now. The couple understood that their calm, respectful approach had made a positive impression. After a few more questions, the officer looked at Tom and Mia with a small smile. Thank you for your patience and clarity. It is rare to find citizens who are so cooperative and calm. I will ensure that the HOA is informed that further police involvement is unnecessary. Tom nodded. We appreciate your help. We want everyone to understand that minor disagreements can be solved with communication rather than authority or complaints. This should be an example for the neighborhood. The officer closed his notebook and stepped back. I will report immediately. Please continue your polite communication with the HOA. It should resolve the situation soon. As he left, Tom and Mia closed the door and leaned against it. They both laughed softly, feeling relief and pride. That was unexpected, Mia said. I did not think he would recognize you and react like that. Tom smiled. It shows that fairness and patience make a difference. Even someone in uniform respects that. Now the HOA will know we are reasonable, and they should act accordingly. The couple spent the rest of the morning organizing documents about the garden and the HOA rules. They wanted to be fully prepared if Mrs. Pearson or the HOA board decided to call them for a meeting. They knew that staying calm, polite, and professional was their best approach. By afternoon, Tom and Mia felt more confident. The officer's visit had shown that even authority figures respected their behavior. They hoped this lesson would influence the HOA to handle rules with fairness and communication in the future. The next day, Tom and Mia prepared to meet with the HOA officer once more. They wanted to explain the situation clearly and make sure everyone understood that the fine had caused unnecessary tension. Tom organized documents and photos of the garden to show that it was well maintained. Mia wrote down notes about their previous communication with the HOA. They wanted to be prepared and calm. When the officer arrived, he greeted them politely. Good morning. I wanted to follow up on the situation. The HOA requested that I clarify your position. They were concerned about the unpaid fine. Mia smiled. We are happy to explain. We do not refuse to pay fines if they are fair, but we want to understand why this one was issued. The bushes and lawn have always been well kept, and we feel this fine was unnecessary. The officer nodded. I understand. I have looked at your property, and I agree it appears well maintained. Please tell me more about your efforts to communicate with the HOA. Tom explained that they had called the HOA office several times and left messages. He said they had tried to attend meetings and follow all rules, but no one had responded to their inquiries before issuing the fine. Mia added that they had always been respectful of neighborhood guidelines and had contributed positively to the community. The officer listened carefully and wrote down notes. It seems there was a misunderstanding. The HOA may have acted too quickly. They may not have realized your efforts to comply with the rules. Mia nodded. We hope this discussion will help them see that communication and fairness are more important than rushing to issue fines. We want to cooperate, but we want rules applied correctly. The officer looked thoughtful. I will report this to the HOA board. I will explain that you have been cooperative and respectful. There is no criminal matter, and further police involvement is unnecessary. This should help resolve the situation without escalation. Tom smiled. Thank you. We appreciate your understanding. We want to keep our neighborhood peaceful and positive. The officer added, sometimes HOA boards forget that their residents are people with concerns and feelings. A fine may seem small, but it can cause unnecessary stress if not handled carefully. Mia said, exactly. We are happy to comply with rules when they make sense and are applied fairly. We only want proper communication and respect. The officer nodded. I will explain this to Mrs. Pearson and the other HOA members. Hopefully, they will see that minor matters can be resolved with conversation rather than conflict. Tom showed the officer photos of the garden and pointed out how the bushes were trimmed neatly and the lawn was healthy. Mia explained that they had spent time maintaining the garden every week and had done so carefully for several years. The officer reviewed the photos and smiled. It is clear that you care about your property and your neighborhood. This supports your position that the fine was unnecessary. After spending nearly an hour discussing the situation, the officer stood up. I will take this information to the HOA board immediately. I believe they will understand your perspective. You have handled this matter with patience and respect, which will make a positive impression. Tom and Mia thanked the officer. We are glad you could help. We hope this will show the HOA that cooperation and discussion are better than rushing to involve the police, Tom said. Mia added, we want all neighbors to feel safe and respected. Rules are important, but kindness and communication matter more. The officer nodded. I agree. I will make sure to communicate that. It is clear you acted properly and politely throughout this situation. The HOA should take note of your approach. After the officer left, Tom and Mia discussed their plan for the HOA meeting. They decided to remain calm, polite, and factual. They would present the information about the garden and their attempts to communicate, emphasizing that they were willing to cooperate with fair rules. They also felt proud of how they had handled the situation so far. Their patience and respectful communication had made a positive impression on the officer. They hoped it would have the same effect on the HOA board. By the afternoon, Tom and Mia had prepared everything carefully. They knew that fairness and calm behavior would resolve this issue better than arguing or showing frustration. They felt confident that the HOA would see their perspective and cancel the fine. Mia smiled at Tom. We are ready for the meeting. We have all the facts and have stayed calm. This should end well. Tom nodded. Yes. The officer has already seen our side, and now it is up to the HOA to act reasonably. Let's stay polite and positive. The couple spent the rest of the day reviewing their documents and organizing their thoughts. They knew that a calm, professional approach was the best way to handle a misunderstanding like this. They also realized that patience and respectful communication could turn a tense situation into a peaceful resolution. A few days later, Tom and Mia received a formal letter from the HOA board requesting a meeting. The letter was polite but firm. Mrs. Pearson's name was at the top, and it was clear she wanted to discuss the garden fine in person. Tom and Mia prepared carefully. They collected photos of their garden, notes about their previous communication, and examples of how they had always followed HOA rules. When the afternoon arrived, Tom and Mia walked into the HOA office. The room was small but neat. Mrs. Pearson was already there, sitting behind a desk. Her expression was serious, but there was a hint of hesitation. A few other board members sat quietly, waiting for the discussion to begin. Tom greeted everyone politely. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us, he said. Mia smiled and nodded. Mrs. Pearson cleared her throat. We are here to discuss the fine issued for your garden. It has come to my attention that there has been a misunderstanding, and I would like to hear your side," she said. Tom spoke calmly. "Thank you, Mrs. Pearson. We want to cooperate fully with the HOA. We maintain our garden carefully and follow all rules. When we received the fine, we tried to contact the office to understand it better. We did not refuse to comply. We only wanted communication and clarity." Mia added, "We respect the rules and want to follow them, but we feel this fine was unnecessary. We hope that the HOA can see that minor concerns can be resolved with discussion instead of fines or complaints." Mrs. Pearson looked at them carefully. Her tone softened slightly. "I understand. I may have acted too quickly. It seemed that the fine was not being addressed, and I thought I needed to take strong action." Tom nodded. "We appreciate your honesty. We know it is your responsibility to enforce rules, but we also hope the HOA can consider fairness and communication. Minor issues do not need to be escalated unnecessarily." One of the board members spoke. "We have reviewed the photos and information you provided. It is clear that your garden is well maintained and that you have followed most rules. Perhaps the fine was issued too hastily." Mrs. Pearson looked down at her notes and then back at Tom and Mia. "You are right. I see now that I overreacted. I apologize for any stress caused. It was never our intention to make you feel unfairly treated." Mia smiled gently. "Thank you, Mrs. Pearson. We accept your apology. We want everyone in the neighborhood to feel respected and treated fairly. Rules are important, but communication is even more important." Tom added, "We are happy to comply with the HOA rules in the future. We just hope that small matters can be discussed before action is taken. This will help maintain a positive environment for everyone." Mrs. Pearson nodded. "I agree. From now on, I will ensure that all residents have a chance to explain their situation before fines are issued. I understand that fairness and communication matter." The board members all seemed satisfied with the discussion. One of them said, "It is clear that you have handled this situation with patience and respect. We will cancel the fine and make sure the record shows that the issue was resolved fairly." Tom and Mia both felt relief. "Thank you," Tom said. "We are glad this matter has been settled. We want to continue being positive members of this community." Mia added, "We hope this experience can help improve communication between the HOA and residents. Everyone benefits when problems are handled calmly and fairly." Mrs. Pearson nodded again. "I will take this lesson seriously. I will remind the HOA board to approach all matters with fairness and patience. Thank you for your understanding and professionalism." After the meeting, Tom and Mia left the HOA office. They felt a sense of relief and accomplishment. The fine had been cancelled, and Mrs. Pearson had apologized personally. They had maintained their calm, polite approach throughout the situation, and it had worked. On the way home, Mia laughed softly. "I am glad we stayed patient and respectful. It made all the difference." Tom smiled. "Yes. Even though it was stressful, we handled it correctly. This shows that fairness, communication, and patience always work better than arguing or rushing." Back at home, they spent the evening discussing how they could continue being active, positive members of the neighborhood. They realized that their experience could serve as an example for others. Minor disputes could be solved with understanding, and respect could prevent unnecessary tension. The couple felt proud of themselves. They had faced an unusual situation, dealt with it calmly, and turned a stressful moment into a positive outcome. They also hoped Mrs. Pearson and the HOA board would remember this lesson in the future and treat all residents fairly. Tom and Mia's calm and respectful handling of the situation had not only resolved the fine but also strengthened their position as responsible and fair members of the community. They knew that this approach would benefit them and their neighbors in the long run. After the meeting with the HOA, Tom and Mia returned home feeling relieved. The tension that had filled the past few days seemed to lift from their shoulders. The fine had been cancelled, and Mrs. Pearson had apologized for her hasty actions. The couple realized that patience, respect, and clear communication had played a major role in resolving the issue. Mia prepared tea while Tom sat at the kitchen table, organizing the documents they had gathered. He looked at the photos of their garden and smiled. "I am glad we kept everything in order. It really helped to show the HOA that we take care of our property." Mia nodded. "Yes. If we had reacted with anger, this situation could have become much worse. Our calm approach made a difference." Over the next few days, the neighborhood began to notice the story of the cancelled fine. Some neighbors had witnessed the police visit and heard about the meeting with the HOA. They were impressed with how Tom and Mia had handled the situation. People commented on their patience and professionalism. Mrs. Pearson also seemed to change her approach. She visited several neighbors to explain that she would focus on communication before issuing fines in the future. She admitted that her previous behavior had caused unnecessary stress. Neighbors appreciated her honesty, and it improved the atmosphere in the community. Tom and Mia spent their evenings discussing ways to contribute positively to the neighborhood. They considered organizing a small community garden event where residents could share tips about maintaining their yards. They wanted to encourage friendliness and cooperation instead of tension over rules. One evening, as the sun was setting, Mia said, "I am glad this situation is over, but I am even happier that it taught us something valuable. Communication and patience always lead to better results than arguing or rushing." Tom agreed. "We also showed that being respectful can influence others, even someone in a position of authority." Mrs. Pearson learned from this, and so did the HOA board. The couple also reflected on the officer who had visited their home. His professionalism and respect had made an impression on them. They realized that staying calm and polite had not only helped with the HOA but had also earned the respect of the officer. It reminded them that every interaction mattered. One afternoon, Mrs. Pearson visited Tom and Mia at their home. She brought a small bouquet of flowers as a gesture of apology. "I wanted to thank you for handling the fine dispute so gracefully. Your patience and calm behavior helped me see a better way to manage neighborhood issues," she said. Mia smiled and accepted the flowers. "We appreciate your visit, Mrs. Pearson. It means a lot that you recognized our efforts and are willing to change your approach." Tom added, "Our goal is always to maintain a positive neighborhood. Everyone benefits when rules are fair and communication is clear." Mrs. Pearson nodded. "I will remember this. I hope our future interactions will be smoother, and all residents will feel respected." She left with a warm smile, and Tom and Mia waved goodbye. Over the next few weeks, the neighborhood began to feel more peaceful. Residents followed the rules willingly, knowing that they would be treated fairly. The tension over small matters like fines decreased, and the atmosphere became friendlier. Tom and Mia felt proud that their calm approach had contributed to this change. They also realized that this experience had strengthened their bond. Working together to handle the situation had required teamwork, understanding, and patience. They felt closer as a couple and more confident in their ability to face challenges together. One morning, while enjoying coffee in their garden, Mia looked around and said, "Everything feels better now. Our garden looks beautiful, and the neighborhood feels calmer. I am happy we stayed patient and polite." Tom smiled. "Yes. This situation could have gone the other way, but we handled it correctly. It is a reminder that respect and communication always make a difference." As the day went on, Tom and Mia noticed neighbors stopping to greet them and complimenting the garden. Everyone seemed more relaxed and friendly. The couple realized that the experience with the fine had created a positive ripple effect throughout the community. In the evening, they sat on their porch and reflected on the lessons they had learned. Life was full of unexpected challenges, but staying calm, respectful, and patient could turn a difficult situation into a positive outcome. They felt grateful for the experience and hopeful for the future of their neighborhood. Tom and Mia knew that they had handled the HOA dispute correctly. They had maintained their dignity, respected the rules, and shown the power of patience and communication. Their story became an example for neighbors, the HOA, and even the officer who had visited. The couple smiled at each other, knowing that fairness, respect, and understanding had the power to solve problems, strengthen relationships, and create a better community for everyone. The days following the HOA dispute were calm and pleasant. Tom and Mia returned to their usual routines, but the experience had left a lasting impression on them. They realized that even small conflicts could teach important lessons about patience, respect, and communication. Neighbors began to notice the change as well. People who had heard about the cancelled fine and the police visit spoke positively about Tom and Mia. Their calm, respectful approach had impressed the community. Many residents commented that the couple had shown the right way to handle disagreements without anger or frustration. One morning, as Tom was trimming the bushes, a neighbor named Sarah walked by. "Your garden looks amazing," she said with a smile. "I also heard how you handled the HOA fine. You stayed calm and polite. That is inspiring." Tom nodded. "Thank you, Sarah. It was not easy, but we wanted to show that fairness and communication work better than arguing." Sarah agreed. "I think the neighborhood is better because of your approach. People are learning that rules are important, but kindness and patience matter more." Mia joined them, smiling. "We hope everyone will handle small issues the same way. It makes life easier and more peaceful for all of us." Even Mrs. Pearson, the HOA president, seemed different. She no longer acted hastily when issuing fines or making decisions. Instead, she took the time to listen to residents and communicate clearly. She apologized to anyone who felt stressed in the past and encouraged board members to follow the same approach. One afternoon, Mrs. Pearson visited Tom and Mia with a small gift of fresh flowers. "I wanted to thank you again for your patience and respect," she said. "You taught me an important lesson about fairness and communication. I will be more careful in the future." Mia accepted the flowers gracefully. "We appreciate your honesty, Mrs. Pearson. We are happy that this situation helped improve the neighborhood." Tom added, "We hope everyone can learn from this experience. Respect, understanding, and clear communication make our community stronger and friendlier." Over the next few weeks, Tom and Mia noticed small changes around the neighborhood. Neighbors greeted each other more warmly, and there was a sense of cooperation instead of tension. People followed HOA rules willingly, knowing that they would be treated fairly and listened to. The couple also reflected on their own experience. They realized that handling challenges calmly had strengthened their relationship. Working together to face the dispute had required patience, understanding, and teamwork. They felt closer and more confident in their ability to solve problems together. One evening, while sitting on their porch, Mia looked around and said, "Everything feels so peaceful now. I am glad we stayed calm and polite. It made all the difference." Tom smiled and nodded. "Yes. We turned a stressful situation into a positive outcome. It shows that respect and communication are more powerful than anger or force." Our approach influenced the HOA, the neighbors, and even the officer who visited. The couple noticed children playing in the yards, neighbors watering their gardens, and people smiling as they walked by. The sense of community had improved, and everyone seemed happier. Tom and Mia felt proud that their actions had contributed to a friendlier neighborhood. They also thought about the lessons for the future. Life would always have small conflicts and challenges, but staying calm, respectful, and fair could turn these moments into opportunities for growth and understanding. Tom and Mia promised themselves to handle any future problems with the same patience and care. The story of the cancelled fine and the police visit became a quiet example for the neighborhood. Residents respected Tom and Mia for their wisdom and calmness. The HOA board also adjusted its approach, focusing more on listening and fair communication before taking action. As the sun set, casting a warm golden light over their garden, Tom and Mia sat together on the porch. They reflected on the journey from a small garden find to a meaningful lesson about community and respect. Mia smiled at Tom. "We handled this well. Not only was the fine cancelled, but we also helped improve the neighborhood." Tom nodded. "Yes. We proved that fairness, patience, and communication create positive results. People noticed, and it made our community better for everyone." The couple watched the neighborhood come alive with friendly greetings, laughter, and cooperation. They knew that even small actions, when guided by respect and understanding, could make a big difference. Tom and Mia held hands and felt grateful for the experience. They understood that challenges were part of life, but handling them with calm and respect could turn any situation into a positive outcome. Their story became a quiet inspiration for neighbors, the HOA, and anyone who heard about their approach. Life in the neighborhood returned to its peaceful rhythm, but the lessons remained. Tom and Mia knew that fairness, patience, and communication were the keys to a strong and happy community. They smiled, knowing that their calm and respectful actions had created a better environment for themselves and everyone around them.